people are just getting sliced and diced and then hopping up and still doing gymnastics.
Excuse me. People get like carved up their abdomen. Like Ghostface spells his name on them. And then at the end, in the final frame, they're sitting on the back of an ambulance with like Starbucks being like, can you believe it? We survived again.
Welcome to Keep It, Crooked Media's show about pop culture and politics and what happens when they smack into each other at an alarming speed. I'm your host, Ira Madison III, a television writer and Fall Out Boy fan.
I'm Louis Fertel. I'm a TV writer and Jane Fonda historian.
Let's get into it.
And we're back with an all-new episode of Keep It. I'm Ira Madison III.
I'm Louis Fertel, and I, as of this taping, am up on the hottest show on television. And do you know what that is?
Let me guess. Something old.
You are correct. It is Siskel and Ebert. Guys, I don't know how this happened to me. I think literally on Twitter, now more so than even like a year ago, people just say things like, I miss Ebert now more than ever. And I love Roger Ebert. Like, I love reading his old reviews. If I'm watching something that's from 2012 or before, I always look up what he says, which is crazy because it means I care about, you know, a straight man's opinion, which constitutionally is not my thing.
I weirdly do the same. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I mean, shout out to him for being, you know, immortal in that way. But any old movie that I watch that I haven't seen before, I'm always like, well, what did Ebert say about it?
This is what I've been thinking about. What is the thing that I have to know about his opinion when I watch anything? It's like, I don't know, it's like he's weirdly like not judgmental at all or has nothing to prove and is just coming in with a very casual understanding of characters that feels very opening and welcoming. And also, it's very strange to just watch him, first of all, debate with Gene Siskel, because you forget that straight men can be bitches. Oh my God. These cats go at it. But it's interesting because when you watch them debate, and I've been obsessed with watching their best ofs every year, they literally did a 10 best of the year episode in movies, going from like the 70s on through till Gene's death in the late 90s. And it's something like, it's the combination of Roger Ebert's like fair but kind of like poetically sympathetic point of view, and then Gene Siskel, whose point of view I like care about less, but he like writes about movies like a reporter. Like he's like at the it's like at a courthouse meeting, he's taking minutes of the movie and telling you exactly what happened and offering a little bit of perspective, but rarely getting kind of sappy or coming to an essayist conclusion, which is what Roger Ebert does. I don't know. I'm just obsessed with it. I cannot stop watching it. I have a few more years to go.
I remember seeing a tweet from someone, maybe it was even you, maybe not, but someone said that someone described Ebert the way he would argue with people. They were like, I like to win arguments the way Ebert does by just talking over the person who's responding to you and then saying, time to move on.
That's me. Yes, that was my tweet.
Oh, yeah. Whenever he would have like a guest, because I specifically remember before he picked his new co-host, before he picked like Roper, he was having like a rotating guest. A rotating cast of guests, and Joyce Kulholick was on
yes,
talking
I know
about
exactly
Gladiator.
What review you're about to talk about. Yes,
and she called it one of the greatest movies ever made, and he was like, "Listen, bitch."
He got up in her face. Also, that I think is one of the best things about that show. Literally, the look in his eyes when he's either disappointed in Gene or surprised by Gene. It's so contempt. It's so like the light of the world is drained from his face, and yet he is still talking emphatically. It's like he's holding back a tantrum and keeping it witty, which is, as far as I know, like the closest thing I will ever achieve to hero behavior. Like it felt, it's just so fun to watch. Again, it's like how it goes from diplomatic to extremely petty, sometimes on a dime. I love that dynamic. And also, it's like they're talking about these movies only for, you know, a minute or two at a time. It's not like they can achieve real depth. In fact, I'm surprised by the amount of times Gene Siskel just settles for calling something smart and then moves on. But they still do, in Fighting Even Just for a Second, really make you need to see the movie. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was one of the benefits of when I would watch it as a kid. You know, it's like, it's not just his opinion. When two people are arguing about something, you really sort of want to see it yourself to see whose side you're on. you know?
Right.
And I feel like I need to revisit Gladiator because I did not like it when it first came out. But this, of course, is me like a freshman in high school, and it felt like a very bro dub movie. But I wonder if I would re-like it now because it feels like everyone loves Gladiator.
Yeah,
or maybe they're
right.
just excited for Gladiator 2.
Yeah, and there's also a contingent that considers Gladiator, like a perfect best picture. Like everybody went to go see it. It's a better than average blockbuster. Great performances therein. Not my thing at all necessarily, but I do support Paul Mescal culture, so maybe I will revisit it too.
Paul Mescal, Barry Keoghan, and now Denzel Washington. Like, what are we doing here?
What?
Yes.
I had no idea he was added.
Yeah, this is now the cast for Gladiator 2. And this is like, there are certain times when Ridley Scott like really taps into like camp or like something that gays want to see. And I feel like the casting of Paul is part of that. It's like Thelma and Louise, Ridley Scott, like old school Ridley Scott, where it was fun, like Alien, not his bad movies in the center.
Are you suggesting there's maybe a Lady Gaga movie that could qualify for this? I don't know what one you could be speaking about.
House of Gucci.
Yeah, that is the one I was thinking
Which
about.
was not as camp as it should have been.
Right. That's one of my least favorite things a movie can be, when you assume you're getting something, Mildred Pierce level dramatic or whatever, Mahogany level crazy, and instead you get something that is staid and expected ultimately, but the characters all have that American Hustle wig shop look.
I feel like All the Money in the World was more entertaining than House of Gucci. I actually really liked that movie. Michelle,
it was good. Yeah.
Amazing. Mark Wahlberg, there.
That's usually the score. Again, we have not dragged him over the coals enough for calling the movie Women Are Talking. I'm not over it. It's a 2-word title, and he messed it up. And why? Because it's about women. That's why. He sucks that much. One of my least favorite celebrities who ever lived.
That's the sequel.
Yeah.
First it was Women Talking, now it's Women Are Talking. Actually, Women Are Talking sounds like a movie title from like 84.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it sounds like a movie from like the 30s, the flappers are all getting together. The women are talking. Spring has sprung, and even though it is still raining in LA, like right now, it is so... I can't even say it's like whimsically Seattle outside. It is effing Cleveland out there. I am livid. Take that, Ohio. But if you ask Miley Cyrus, summer never ended. Endless Summer Vacation has been killing it on the charts, but where does it fall in the scope of her discography? Ira, do you care about this album?
You know what? I think it's not giving Summer Vacation.
Right. Okay.
I think maybe it's giving Cute Weekend. It's giving Weekend Getaway.
Yes. Where you spend one of the days in your hotel room a little sleepy.
Yeah. It's not a great album for me. It's not. I'm sorry, Diva. I'm just not feeling this one.
Okay, there was a meme recently where somebody calls themselves Detective Fierce, and they're interviewing somebody, and they call the person Diva. My friends and I cannot stop calling each other Diva right now. It's so funny. It's like the most extra noun in the English language.
I love the people who use it unironically, because we all have a friend who will be like, "Hey, Diva." And I'm like, yes, you should be on Joan Rivers' Straight Talk panel with Billy Eichner and Andy Cohen.
Oh, okay. We need to explain that quickly. Somebody posted on YouTube recently a failed pilot on Bravo with Joan Rivers, and she's the host of like View Like panel. And on the panel are 4 other gay men, 2 of whom I had never heard of before, which that's crazy. But 2 of them are Andy Cohen, and that year would be the one when Real Housewives of Orange County premiered, so he's on the ascent. And Billy Eichner, who is still years away from Billy on the Street becoming a thing. But wow, they would just sit there with Joan and yak it up.
Yeah, one of them is Preston Conrad, who's a celebrity stylist, and still apparently, being on E.
They have to go somewhere.
Yeah, and then the other one was LZ Granderson, who she describes as a black Republican. So I was immediately not interested in hearing anything he had to say.
How hard did they have to search for that? And he was also a sports writer or something?
Yeah,
it's like they drew this person up.
I don't think he seems to be one anymore. Because I feel like, it was probably very trendy to be a black Republican on TV like 2006.
Right, Bush era. It seems so quaint then, even though, of course, it was horrible.
Yeah. But I just love, before we move back to Miley, I just love Joan's introduction of Andy Cohen. She's like, and he slept with everyone in New York. Andy Cohen.
Vibes of David Letterman introducing Madonna on her famous 1994 appearance where she said the F word 13 times. He said, our next guest has slept with some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. Rough. But anyway, somebody who reminds me of Madonna in certain defiant ways, Miley Cyrus. Here's my main complaint about the album, even though I think there are pretty good songs, and one song in particular negates what I'm about to say. Are we done with vibes yet? I think we are good on vibes. I am like drowning in, I'm like waterlogged with vibes at the moment. I need like a key change. I need like inspired music. I need something that doesn't just fit into a Spotify algorithm, which is how all music is sort of like, it's like all funneling into the same like mushy, electronic, moody, vibey sound.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same, although my favorite song on the album is Handstand, which is nothing but vibes.
True. My favorite is Island, which is nothing but vibes.
Yeah. Listen, it's very electronic. You know, it seems at times like, you know, you're listening to Air or Daft Punk or something, but like the latter half of an album, not a single. I loved Flowers, you know? I thought Flowers was a really fun song. But the rest of the album is just sort of like not giving a lot to me. And it's brought up the conversation with a lot of people online who are just wondering sort of like, what is the definitive Miley album? You know, does she have a perfect no skips album? I think she does. But it is not bangers as much as I love that album.
Well, bangers to me feels like a Madonna album, and that you could have deleted 7 tracks and then you would have had a cohesive, pretty perfect album. But instead there's too many like moments of confusion on it. You really do think she has a perfect album? Which one is it?
I think it's Can't Be Tamed.
Oh, you do love that one. I love that video.
I love that album. I love it. I think, first of all, like Liberty Walk, you put that on and you're going to strut, okay? You're going to strut. You're going to strut for freedom and liberty.
Long Strut to Freedom, my favorite documentary.
My Heart Beats for Love, perfect. Who Owns My Heart? Robot. These are songs, okay? Children were singing them.
When you're full of passion, you can't help but break out into meme. Like that's how you express yourself. You're like a conduit for memes to exist.
These are songs. I love that album, but you know, because that was sort of also when Miley, you know, was teetering between old Disney Miley and like, you know, current Miley. Her Can't Be Tamed era, you know, was. Every pop star has had that, you know, like, and you know, it's
Christina Aguilera stripped.
Yeah, you know, it's Britney Slave for you, you know, it's she, you know, she was in a cage in the video with these big wings, and it's so over dramatic and fun. But God damn it, I love that album. And I also want to say that I do enjoy bangers a lot too, because I like the Mike Will Made It era, and I think that I am also over the judging Miley for the hip-hop era that she had, where she was twerking on everybody. She was like a Dr. Seuss book, okay? She was twerking on Pop. She was twerking on Robin Thicke. She was twerking over here, over there.
On a train, on the plane.
But I feel like I'm going to blame the men who were involved. Like Mike Will Made It, like Juicy J, like they were giving her like this hip hop cred and bringing her out everywhere. You know, like it's not like she all of a sudden was like, you know what, I'm down with the people. I'm gonna be black today. You know, she wasn't like giving Iggy Azalea.
And I just want to say that after the twerk heavy era, she did the thing you would expect, which is retract with a really zen era, like the Malibu song and stuff, which I don't think anybody really looks back on all too fondly. Actually, I think there are some stands in that way. In the way that there are stands for that Lorde album nobody listens to.
Yeah, listen, Younger Now is a even worse album than this one. It's extremely boring. I love Malibu. I love the title track. And that's about it.
I do want to say, by the way, about Flowers on this album, this is her Can't Get You Out of My Head, because I think every artist once in their lifetime is due that hypnotic mid-tempo track There's something about exactly that speed where you just can't forget it. If it were any faster or any slower, it would not have that magical quality. A song I always talk about in this way is Physical by Olivia Newton-John. There is something about this speed of that song that is so exactly right, where it's like you almost want it to be faster, and because of that, you find the beat even more propulsive. Like there's an anxiousness to the speed the song picks.
And you are Goldilocks when it comes to BPM.
Yes, that's me. Eating porridge and Vegemite as I celebrate Olivia Newton-John.
I would also say that I really enjoyed Plastic Hearts.
Wait, that's the one
album.
with the Benatar-esque.
Yes, that
Midnight
one
Sky.
was like her rock album. That one was fun. It felt upbeat. It felt very much the Miley that we get in person, you know? Every time you see Miley at a party, like she's got the sunglasses on, she's got the boa on, like she did at the launch party for this album, you know, at like Gucci Osteria in Beverly Hills. But she always looks like she's having the most fun at the party, right? And I feel like Plastic Hearts exemplified that. I don't know like how you're turning up to most of this album, you know?
Right. Also, by the way, it just speaks to how great she has been at covering rock songs.
She's so fucking good at it. Her covers are amazing. Blondie.
Oh, please. I mean, like, this is sort of a rock song, but like her Jolene cover, when she was at the SNL anniversary and sang 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, just like, these are songs that we would never pair with her instinctively. And the minute she sings them, it's like, oh, you're like a student, first of all, of old rock and roll music. But second of all, it's just not contrived at all. It's not vibey. It's just pure talent emerging.
I love her cover of the Cranberries' Zombie.
Perfect song for her.
And that reminds me of like back when she was doing all these covers the most, right? I was sort of wondering if we would get a covers album from her, which would be fun. I don't feel like people release them anymore, unless you're Kelly Clarkson. But
it is crazy that we still get a cover from her every day. And also, I always agree with the kind of boringly repetitive stands about her. I'm like, all right, yeah, she did cover Jasmine Sullivan well. Well, who knew?
Yeah. We don't do enough with her either, by the way. Like,
we can't figure it out. I think Kelly Clarkson is a little bit of a puzzle for everybody because she is this combination of utterly dependable talent and then never, like, just south of cool, but also just north of square. So we don't know what to do with her other than give her a talk show.
And it's this big bluesy voice, and it's like when you listen to her albums, like there are so many songs that never become her singles too, where she's just like letting it out. But you know, we sort of like don't do a lot with her. And I feel like part of it is because she's always talked about this publicly. Like she got married, she became a mom. You know, she's not like a skinny blonde pop star anymore, you know, which is what she first started out as. And I feel like that during her career, as she got older, people were just sort of like, oh, well, we're just going to stick her into adult contemporary world. Right.
And I don't feel like we have pop stars of the sort that we did in the early 90s where, you know, like Annie Lennox is on the charts and Unavoidable, or Katie Lang, or people like that. So it's like, what zone is there for Kelly Clarkson to dominate other than her daytime slot where she can do a 90-second cover of something and entertain?
The only adult contemporary pop star we have on the charts is Pink.
Right. And she's still... you know what? Trustfall is a fine song. The video is okay. I just need her to evolve the aesthetic a little bit.
I'm a little tired of her right now. Mostly because every time Pink sits in her interview chair, she is always dragging someone else.
And you find that exhausting?
With. No. Well, I find it fun, but I want more of the, like, you know, if you're gonna do that, like, I need you to go a little bit harder.
Oh, that's true.
Where it's like, oh, you know, like, I love
Shaka
Madonna,
Khan.
and
go
she
the
did
full
this,
Shaka
you know?
Khan.
No, just be like, Madonna's a bitch.
You're right, because Pink has a long history of dragging Christina Aguilera. I guess she had a horrible time making the Lady Marmalade video, but she also recently talked about how she was supposed to or expected to get the song Beautiful from songwriter Linda Perry, who wrote Get the Party Started, Four Non-Blondes legend. And instead, of course, that went to Christina Aguilera. And Pink said, and Christina killed it on that track. And I wanted her to say, fuck Christina, you know.
Right. Be like,
Come on.
It wasn't good.
Yeah.
Be like, she was loud.
But of course, Beautiful, as you know, is secretly one of my least favorite songs because it's a song for, that's right, ugly people. This is my same theory about Dancing on My Own, a song for losers. I'm watching the person I have a crush on dancing. That's how my night is being spent. Go get a drink.
Do you also hate Unpretty?
Unpretty, I think is a better song. Like, I like the kind of R&B elements to it.
Yeah.
But at least that's owning it. Like, I feel ugly. I'm saying it, you know. Whereas I feel like, I feel like the Robin song is someone pretending it's somehow noble for them to be standing there having a miserable time in the middle of a discotheque or whatever's going on in that song.
Yeah, that is why I always prefer Call Your Girlfriend.
That's a sassy song. Love that song.
Yeah, that one's like, okay, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah. Right.
You know you're a bad bitch and Call Your Girlfriend. But I would actually, going back to Unpretty, you know what saves Unpretty? The video is high camp.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You learn about every Lifetime movie issue you learn about. Yeah.
The scene where she runs out of the plastic surgeon's office, knocking the breast implants out of his hand. That is beautiful.
Yeah, telenovela shit.
It really makes me miss, and we've logged for the TRL era for so long on this show before, but it really makes me miss the era where there'd be the charts, the 10 different videos that you're watching. It wasn't an algorithm. It was like 10 different random videos because you would go from that to like Korn to then Britney writhing on the ground. You know, it's everything. It ran the gamut.
By the way, I just want to say, obviously everyone who's our age laments the loss of TRL in some ways, but it really is mysterious that we would just sit there and call in every day to see, I'm going to say about 30 seconds of a girl having an eating disorder in the Anna song video. What? What were we doing? Why did I need to see that again? And after school? So shocking.
Yeah, at 30 seconds is right, because at a certain point, they really stopped airing the videos, and it just became a lot of content surrounding. We could see the slow decline of TRL because it really just became Carson interviewing people or segments with screaming fans. Like the actual videos themselves would be like, well, here's 10 seconds of this.
Right. And now here's Ananda Lewis getting eardrum damage from screaming people in the streets. She was great in that Woodstock 99 documentary, by the way.
What else is there to say about Miley? I really enjoy her. I enjoy Miley as a celebrity. It's so interesting to me because I feel like she's so exciting as a pop star, but the music has never really risen up to being iconic, legendary.
I think you just put your finger on it, which is that she is a really cool person and cool person to keep track of because she is like, she's somebody who never wants to be bored, for example.
No.
And
I'm never bored. I'm never bored by her. You know, sometimes the music is boring, but
I think the deal is she's not a brilliant artist. She's just somebody who is restless and willing to try things, and that still, for the most part, hasn't landed any signature moments for her outside of, you know, like we do have Wrecking Ball, we do have Twerking on Robin Thicke, but I'm still waiting beyond Flowers for the definitive Miley as artist moment.
Who would you compare her to even, you know? Because I mean, like, there's plenty of artists that we have, you know, who we remember for being artists, but do you really remember their specific albums or like iconic moments, or maybe they just had one single?
Well, I would compare her in a way to, I mean, like, I guess she is technically a songwriter on all these songs. Like, I'm looking at the credits and she's on them. But she still, to me, feels more like a Ronstadt in that she has this extraordinary instrument and she wants to try a variety. She wants to never do the same thing twice. So you're always going to get something different, even if it's maybe not your personal style or what you would normally seek out. I do think Linda Ronstadt is maybe the Yale of this world and like is more historically interesting so far, but I always look forward to what Miley Cyrus does next, even if I don't like what she puts out.
And you know what? That's why I made a Spotify playlist called Mini Summer Vacation. The 4 songs I like, and I kept it moving.
There are cute moments. I like the Lavender song. That's a pretty good song, too.
Yeah. Also, Jaded. Jaded, I feel like a lot of people agree is like one of her other fantastic songs on the album. I feel like that.
It's barely better to me than the Aerosmith song Jaded, which, by the way, also played in VH1's Top 20 Countdown way too often. Guys, it wasn't that good.
Honestly, she would have killed in Aerosmith era.
Yes. No, I again, rock covers. I'm sure she has sung Dream On at this point.
Yeah, or Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Like, give us that cover, Miley. Give us a song that samples that, to be honest.
Right, but then, of course, Diane Warren haunts you for the rest of your days, so you have to watch out.
Well, listen, she's already the Phantom of the Academy. So,
Did I tell you I ran into her when I was backstage?
Did you?
We have a mutual friend, and I said something to her.
Looking for an Oscars hit?
Yeah, you know it. And I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to see you perform." And she goes, "I'm shitting myself." I was like, "You? All you do is perform."
Come on, Diane.
Yeah, right. We'll see you next year when you're nominated again.
Yeah. She's got to be due a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, no, they gave her one this year. She has an honorary Oscar, yeah.
Oh, I forgot they don't air those.
No. It's actually very strange.
Yeah. Like, imagine not airing Samuel L. Jackson's.
Right.
Like, one of the most popular actors alive currently. And, like, everybody loves him. You know, like, show it on TV. People will watch it. Could have got Tarantino up there. Would have been fun.
Somebody was just telling me they were at a screening not long ago. It was a comedy, an old comedy. And after everybody would laugh at the jokes, 10 seconds later, somebody else would let out a hoarse cackle, and it turned out to be Quentin Tarantino, which is so right. Like, he's on his own rhythm with these movies. He's probably seen them all 100 times, too.
Can't wait for his Pauline Kael masterpiece.
Oh, right. Oh, we've not even discussed that.
We haven't.
What a weird project. How do you make being a film reviewer cinematic? I don't understand. I don't know how he's going to do it.
Yeah, but he has a new movie coming out, supposedly his last movie, called The Movie Critic. And it's about a female critic in the 70s. And we can assume it's going to be Pauline Kael. Who would play her, though?
I don't know, especially since if it's the 70s, so this is somebody who's going to be in their 40s, I guess. I saw, I think, Harriet Sansom Harris put up. I mean, she'd be a little old for the role, but like we want to see more of her, obviously. But you know it's going to end up being someone Jennifer Lawrence-y, right? Like he's going to put some like a sweetheart in the middle of the movie and then make her be a complete asshole. I feel like that's what appeals to him.
I randomly started thinking, like, what if it was just like a curveball and it was like a Lupita Nyong'o?
Your lips to God's ears. I'm waiting for her, what, 4th film role? Come on now. Guys, I saw Queen of Katwe, and none of you did, so whatever.
Yeah, I would just love to see her in that role. I just want more. I like the 70s as an era, you know? And I especially like black fashion from the era. And I don't think we have enough of those movies.
If half the movie is just people complaining about the way Faye Dunaway just treated them, honey. 2 Oscars.
Heads up, this conversation about Scream 6 will contain spoilers for the film. Skip ahead if you have not seen the film. The newest installment to the Scream franchise has dropped, but you know who's really scared? Jenna Ortega's PR team.
First of all, she's a writer first. I don't know if you've heard.
Before we even talk about Scream, we need to talk about Jenna Ortega, who is an icon in the films and maybe kind of an icon in interviews. And I'm sorry, I know that this is bad for us as writers in the Writers Guild to be like, oh my God, I'm loving this girl just being like, I stomped into the Wednesday offices and I said, I'm going to make history. And that's what this is.
She basically claims she either rewrote or protested the way certain scenes were written and then kind of improvised as they filmed, which, you know, it's a Tim Burton production. It's pretty set in stone on the page, I would imagine. Yeah. So a lot of people are thinking, did she have to do that? Is it her place to do that? And you are suggesting yes.
I'm suggesting that I think it's hilarious.
Okay,
that that she's talking about it.
Right.
That
It
she
does.
even did this because it seems like they also maybe the Wednesday writers hate her. But I know like all the team on Scream loves her. So I'm like maybe they love her too. Maybe they also realized that Wednesday was a mess. Because let's just say if she was doing some rewriting, I don't want to see the original writing.
I will say about Scream 6, it is interesting that we're now having a talk about how Jenna Ortega should contribute, because I feel like in Scream 6 and in the Scream franchise, I think we learned this time that, all right, first of all, we don't actually need Neve Campbell, which is something I insisted the last time we reviewed a Scream movie. I think she's the heart and the soul of the franchise. Her kind of, her cynicism, her but weird optimism also, like how she was going to push through this and like, you know, be a survivor and literally survive getting stabbed 3 or 4 times every new installment. I'm happy we could go on without her, but at the same time, I still feel like a deficit of this series is that the chemistry and the relationship between the sisters, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, is lacking, and they are kind of mumbling their way through a picture that should be more dynamic than it is. That said, I do think this installment is a thumbs up, and I don't believe I would say that about Scream 5.
Okay, yes. You know, so listen, I think when we first talked about Scream 5, I missed it so much. I was excited for something new.
Yeah.
On rewatch, it goes way down, and it's actually my least favorite of the franchise. But 6, so much fucking fun.
Right. And by the way, I think it's fun despite the fact that I don't like certain set pieces in the movie. Like Ghostface comes into a bodega and just slashes through the entire thing. It was giving messy the way the movie Halloween Kills did, where Michael Myers is just assaulting firefighters on the lawn. Like the cops would get him. Okay, he's just like clearing the entire squad right there.
Right, because you know he is black, but he has a white face, so maybe the cops wouldn't arrest him. I don't know.
I love your stand-up. Love your stand-up.
What's the deal with Ghostface? That scene was a lot. It is funny how since the 3rd movie, basically, they've always gone on this whole thing with like the killer is superhuman, you know, like those are the rules of a franchise. And so Ghostface just gets to be superhuman. And it's like, okay, like, well, like, is he taking steroids?
Right.
What's happening? Is Bane underneath this mask? More so than that, especially in the last movie, this current trilogy, this current iteration from the Radio Silence directors who did Ready or Not, people are just getting sliced and diced and then hopping up and still doing gymnastics.
Excuse me.
Last installment, when Gail got shot in the stomach and then she's back in the house for the final act, fucking people up.
No, excuse me. People get like carved up their abdomen, like fully. Ghostface spells his name on them, and then at the end, in the final frame, they're sitting on the back of an ambulance with like Starbucks, being like, "Can you believe it? We survived again."
So here's the thing about that too. It's fun to watch, but I will say it's becoming a bit less dangerous or scary. You know, I mean, I
wasn't scared. I was not scared. I will say that. Yes.
Yeah. Except for the latter scene was very creepy to me. That scared me a bit. And Gail's extended chase scene was like very like thrilling. I was very tense during it. But I was rewatching the original films, right? You know, and Randy dying was so shocking in Scream 2, you know, and because like he was part of their core 4. As it was. Right. And now you have a core 4 in this movie, you know, which includes Tara and Sam and Chad and Mindy. But I sort of feel like none of them are going to die.
Right.
So it feels like you're watching
immortal.
a TV show almost where, oh, these characters are coming back each time. You know, like I was never actually afraid that any of them were going to die. I thought Chad was done for. Really. I figured Mindy was going to live when she got stabbed on the subway. You know, because the paramedics get there. But when Chad was like, you know, sliced up by 2 Ghostface, I'm like, two of you bitches couldn't kill him?
And excuse me, they were going at jackhammer speed. There was a full minute when they weren't doing anything but stabbing. I mean, launching at him. And he just was like, the look on his face was, here I am dying. Here comes the dying face we all put on and scream when we're dying. And lo and behold, he survived. I want to give a real shout out to Jasmine Savoy Brown in this movie because she's related to Randy, who was killed in Scream 2. In this movie, she plays the movie expert. And you would kind of think at this point that they had done the movie within a movie or movies commenting on movies Ouroboros enough times. I mean, they truly, you would think it would have expired after the first movie, but she still really made it fun. I loved her describing the rules of movies becoming franchises as opposed to just sequels, and how and she gets into this, how certain characters have to survive and certain legacy characters don't have to survive anymore because they're so old hat. You know, who cares that somebody from the 20th century would still be living on in these movies?
She was so fucking funny in that scene on campus, you know? If anything, I will say that I liked how, you know, jackhammer the movie was, you know, to steal that word from you. You know, it felt very, you know, when you try and think about horror movies that like in installments like this that are set in New York, I guess the only real comparison is like Jason Takes Manhattan. You know, and this obviously is much sleeker and makes more sense than that movie.
Not a logical film, you know.
Jason movies aren't very logical.
I don't think there's like a dramaturg on that, for example.
The movies still follow the same sort of like format pretty much. I do enjoy the fact that we're watching a whodunit, basically. I feel like they really took the slasher movie to the full whodunit level with the first Scream. You know, you would have that before in a movie, like a Prom Night or something, but you sort of know who the killer was, or you like see them like as a kid. You're like, okay, this person's about to be a killer. Like, who are they now? I really enjoyed the opening for this film.
Me too.
And how they played with those expectations of like showing us who the killer was, and then they get killed by the real killer.
Truly. Honestly, the opening of this movie, which stars Samara Weaving, who, by the way, is giving you the full Carly Minogue accent the entire time. Did not expect that. She's the opening actress, so you can kind of guess what happens there. But then the first killer reveals himself, and you kind of think you're going to get an entirely different form of this movie that's not a whodunit at all. And it was intriguing because they just show this guy going about his day, basically. And honestly, I do think ultimately that would have been a cooler movie than what it turned into, which is a more conventional Scream movie. And I think it's a little bit of a deficit that they kind of teased something a little radder than what we got. But I will say something I love about this movie. Spoilers, etc. I'm sure we top-loaded the episode with spoiler alerts, but whatever. We can't talk about this movie without talking about the killers, so here I go. Dermot Mulroney at the beginning of the movie, I would describe him as acting poorly. And then by the end, as the killer, he really comes into his own. And I kind of loved seeing a killer who, once unmasked, becomes way, way, way more engaging. I mean, I guess you could kind of say the same thing for Laurie Metcalf, but of course she's a dynamite actress constantly.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because Laurie Metcalf and Dermot Mulroney are, you know, sort of like legacy actors who mean something to us as millennials, really. You know, like, I don't know that any young kid watching this franchise is going to be like, oh, Dermot Mulroney, you know? Mm-hmm. At least, like, when we were kids watching Scream 2, like, we recognized Laurie Metcalf from Roseanne.
Right, yes. I mean, like, fun stunt casting.
Right. This should have been, like, if you really want to tap into, like, Gen Z or something, like, this should have been, like David Schwimmer or something should have been the killer, you know? Someone from, like, or, like, you know, Neil Patrick Harris. You know, like that would have been like interesting and fun in the same Laurie Metcalf way. I would compare the killers in the sense that I love Scream 2. You know, it's like my favorite franchise.
And I do like it too. Not my favorite, but I like it.
But when you really think about it on paper, Mrs. Loomis as the killer is so whack because there's no way you can guess who this bitch is, but she's one of everyone's favorite Ghostface reveals because when that because first of all, Debbie Salt is fun in the movie because she's like having this whole feud with Gail the whole time.
Yeah, and she's this neurotic reporter who exists and terrorizes her in a kind of annoying way.
Yeah, and then when she pulls off the mask at the end, Laurie Metcalf is like on another planet.
No, right. The Steppenwolf jumped out. This is some stage acting. Yeah. Gary Sinise, she got the notes from him on that. Yeah.
She is so fucking good once the mask comes off. And I was like, Dermot Mulroney, once the mask comes off, is fantastic as well.
Yes, right.
Unfortunately, his two kids, who are also the killers, and Richie's siblings, Richie, the first killer from Scream 5, his siblings, they're kind of losers.
Yeah, and also, like, you absolutely know one of them is the killer. Like, they tease it enough times ahead of time that you know a movie like Scream is going to make that person that they keep offering up as the killer. Like, they're not going to ironically shy away from him. He is going to be the killer ultimately. Also, I will say, it doesn't make any sense that direct relatives of the last killer are just flagrantly getting away with this. I mean, like...
This is the second time.
Yeah, right. We've been here.
It's like, oh, he was a killer. Like, what is the FBI even doing?
Yeah. And by the way, they're there. Hayden Panettiere is back. She was obviously great in Scream 4. And she is not great here. I was wondering kind of what happened with her. She looked great, but I felt like the camera never even lingered on her for a second more than it had to. We didn't get any acting moments from her, barely any one-liners from her. It felt to me like they were
been acting for
right
a while.
It felt to me like they were cutting around her. So I was wondering what was happening there.
But I never suspected Kirby was a killer anyway.
But they had a fun curveball at the end, thanks to Dermot Mulroney. I enjoyed that. Something I also loved about this movie is, thanks to a monologue from Jasmine Savoy Brown, she talks about how this is a second version of Scream 2, the sequel to the requel. So she teases that there will be comparisons to Scream 2, and I kept thinking that meant the killer was going to be the on-air reporter who was talking about the murders, because that's what Debbie Salt was. But no, it was a throwback to Scream 2, and that it was about the family of the last killer. So I just thought that was like a cool twist. And also the movie ends on a stage the way that Scream 2 ends on a stage. That was really well done. Even though
the final set piece was fantastic, by the way. I really love that, like, when they kill them too, they walk out and you think you're getting the credits, but it's the credits to Richie's movie.
Yes, right. A little bit tar, if you will.
Yeah. Overall, I would put this one at least up there with Scream 1 and Scream 2 for me.
Wow.
In terms of like fun, I would put it slightly over Scream 3, which I just rewatched. I was just like, I need to rewatch Scream 6 again to see how it all holds up. I think Scream 3 gets a lot of flack from people. I think it's immensely rewatchable. I think it's so fucking funny. It leans into comedy more, but like every moment in it is just like, it's really fun and goofy. And Parker Posey carries that movie on her back.
Right. I think it's 1, 2, 4, 6, 3, and 5 about tied for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think something that I have trouble getting over is it does feel like it's the sixth installment of a movie. Like, to me, it's like we're celebrating Christmas still in March. I love Christmas. Yeah. It's worse the more you do it, even if it's good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it feels like we're in this Jurassic World Minions 7 version of Scream. Even though I think I like all the performances in it, I do look forward to it going on. I kind of look forward to them getting rid of a couple of these characters, though, because I feel like they've had their time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, what the big high point, too, is that the directors of the film, Tyler Gillette and Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, they did Ready or Not. And I liked Ready or Not a bit more than you did.
Right, yeah.
But I would say from Ready or Not to Scream 5 to Scream 6, they are obviously improving in their craft.
Yes, I think this is better than Ready or Not, a movie that I thought was obsessed with telling you the fun murder mystery rules of the movie before knowing she would survive anyway. It was trying to break convention while giving you convention, I thought. Right.
And so this is definitely better. So I'm excited to see what they do with 7, which would wrap up maybe this trilogy or whatever, So, and I think that what's really smart is, listen, they gave Gail the chase scene that she's deserved since Scream 2, which is still my favorite moment in the franchise ever.
With the glass, yeah.
With the glass and running through, like the building, and then her seeing Dewey get stabbed. It's fantastic. But I think that now Gail needs a rest. Neve needs a rest. Because listen, the franchise, it's a franchise. It's not going to fucking die. So bring them back for like, Scream 10, like a big legacy one in a few years, where like they're finally there. And then you really get like, I don't know, an end to it. Sydney burning down the fucking factory that still makes these ghost face masks or something.
She's-
Okay,
she's-
I can't believe they
let's
still
nip this
make
in the
these
bud.
masks.
Let's nip this in the bud. Yeah.
I can't believe they still make these masks.
I do like that, though. I like the idea that these people will kind of just rotate in and out, and you don't need them necessarily in any one particular chapter. I think that's the smartest way to handle it.
One thing I would love, I've always wanted one where you see the killer doing it the entire time.
Yeah.
But two, I just feel like now that Sam is like sort of like a vigilante, she loves slicing and dicing people, which is great. And
she improved since the last movie, by the way.
She
Melissa
has.
Barrera, yes.
I would say give us like a whole vigilante Scream movie. You know, like get these kids on Reddit, in chat rooms, finding people who are like, yeah, I want to commit some murders, and then just show up at their house and stab the fuck out of them.
This is sort of what the TV show Swarm is, by the way.
Anyway, really fun movie. So
thumbs up for me.
congrats.
I wavered a couple of times. Thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up for me too. Look at
Wow.
us.
We're Siskel and Ebert. Damn it.
And we're back with our favorite segment of the episode as usual. Lewis, what's your keep it?
This is a keep it I'm mainly excited for. So it's a micro keep it about something I'm excited for. But we were just wondering what the hell happened to Lucas Hedges, who while he's out there avoiding his destiny of playing me in a biopic. Guys, there just aren't that many people with close set eyes and a huge nose. I'm sorry. I need to protect my kind. We finally found out what he's doing. He's going to be starring in a London production of an adaptation of Brokeback Mountain with Mike Faced from West Side Story, a movie that I feel like we do not. Yeah, I feel like we don't. Nobody has talked about that movie in the past year, and it was great. I loved almost everything about West Side Story. But anyway, on the poster for this adaptation, which, by the way, of course, won an Oscar for Diana Osana and Larry McMurtry, who adapted Annie Proulx's story. Annie Proulx still around at, I believe, the age of 87. This poster, I get that they are trying to reference the iconic outfits in the original movie, the Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal looks. It has to look a little bit like they belong in the 1960s. These outfits fit so well. First of all, you just have to be gay to get that fit, first of all. But second of all, the fit is so right that from the neck down, they look like Tegan and Sarah. I mean, I don't believe in the ruggedness of this. You're right. You know what I mean? Like the masculinity stakes aren't there for me right now.
Well, it is theater, okay? I mean, the first time that they have sex on stage, they break out into a rendition of Closer.
Oh, that'll be nice.
The Tegan and Sarah version.
Right, yes. Nine Inch Nails.
Or Neo.
Wow, there's lots of options there. Or the movie with Natalie Portman.
I love that we're in this era of people being into cowboys fucking again. We had God's Own Country recently, and now we've got My King, Almodovar's new short, which is starring Pedro Pascal, Ethan Hawke,
right,
and Manu Rios. A lot of movies coming out right now. That's just going to be my full personality going forward. That movie, the new Michaela Cole, Anne Hathaway movie with music by Charlie XCX. Just like it seems like this is my year.
Finally, you're gonna get your shot. Thank God. I am curious how they will make Brokeback Mountain a stage show, though, because even though it feels like it just all takes place in this pastoral idyll, there's a lot of locations in it. Like they're in the house. It takes place in the future, in the past. So I'm curious how that will work out.
Yeah, not really giving you unity of stage and time, as it were.
History. You don't even have a theater degree, do you? I do.
I do.
I thought you were just film.
No, I have a BA in theater from Loyola University.
Oh, wow. It's even less impressive when you spell it all out like that. Wow. Ira, what's your keep it this week?
My keep it goes to the reactions online to Chloe Bailey getting her back blown out in Swarm.
Enlighten me. I know the scene in question.
So Swarm is a new Amazon series. Shout out to our former co-host who wrote an episode of the series. But the show is about this Beehive-esque fandom. It's basically Beyonce.
Right. No, it's down to the number of Grammys this person Nyjah has.
Nyjah is a singer in the universe, and Dominique Fishback plays a fan of hers. And instead of the Beehive, the fandom is called the Swarm. And basically, it's about the dark sides of fandom. It's about mental health. in the Black community as well. Basically, this girl is she's killing people. She's getting away with murder. Annalise Keating has nothing on this bitch.
Nowhere to be found. Yeah.
But she's roommates with Chloe Bailey, who is having sex with Damson Idris, and he's from the series Snowfall. My interview with him in Bustle is out today, if you want to read that.
Thank you, Tina Brown. All right.
Shout out. But there's a scene where he's fucking her in it, and all of a sudden, I knew this scene would go viral online, mostly because a friend of mine who works at Amazon had showed me a screener of it early on, and I was like, oh, no, this scene is going to be, the internet's going to be talking.
Yeah, right.
The streets are going to be talking.
Yeah, it's a pretty noisy scene, too.
Yeah, and the streets are talking, but the streets are being misogynistic.
Oh. Well, they've been that way before. I'm not too surprised.
Of course. The streets have been misogynistic since Diana was being dirty on them. But Chloe is just being called every name in the book. She's been called a Jezebel. She's been called a whore. Monique. It's like Monique in Charm School. Like where she called Pumpkin the whore of Charm School, and then called her a slutacious whore as well.
It's giving Siskel. It's giving
right.
Siskel.
It's wow. I know we've talked before about sex scenes in TV and film, and like the Puritans who are out there now, but now we shifted to this thing where people are tweeting like, you couldn't pay me, you couldn't pay me to get fucked, every way from Sunday on like a TV show like this. I'm like, do you know what acting is anymore?
And also, by the way, yes, you could.
Yeah.
Enough money, you'd get up on the bed, please.
Okay? Unless you are Jordan Firstman, you're not actually having sex on camera.
Right. I forget that we are getting that. Was that some Sundance movie or something?
Yeah. So come on.
And by the way, the focus should be Dominique Fishback, one hell of an actress. She's so fun on this TV show. I do have to say about this show, I've seen now 4 episodes, and by the way, Billie Eilish appears, and I was wowed. I thought she was fabulous.
She's so
in her
good.
episode. Such a good actress. I do feel like it has that like self-conscious edginess of a movie like Promising Young Woman, where it makes the product seem worse. Like, I don't feel like it's incredibly badass to watch somebody just kill somebody and move on. And I think you're supposed to perpetually be thrilled by that, and I do think it gets a little boring, actually.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a season 2 will happen, and that will, it's from Donald Glover, and I really love Donald Glover's work, and I think that like once you get into like some weird, surreal stuff, maybe it'll have a bit more to say once it tells the story it initially wants to tell, but I sort of agree. And also, my one complaint, this is another keep it, Nyjah. I'm not standing.
I agree.
Okay,
the casting's not good enough. Yeah,
There's always the problem. It's like it's not hot enough for me to be, spending money on plane tickets to Amsterdam, which is what I'm doing for the Renaissance tour. An artist like that needs to be interesting, but also mainstream as well. Like that, it needs to be like really commanding of a cult.
Right.
People would kill for Beyonce. Are people killing for Solange?
Interesting. No, it reminds me of the movie Punchline, where it's like, we need to believe that these are, top tier stand-up comedians or whatever, and unfortunately they added the jokes last or something, and so it's like, well, this is completely deflated. And Sally Field, I'm going to say it, you're not Paula Poundstone.
You love that movie.
I mean,
you
imagine
love bringing
not
up that movie.
It's just it's a movie I can't believe exists, and also it's like right at the zenith of both Sally Field and Tom Hanks's careers, and it's exactly wrong. It's a movie like Aloha, all the right people in the right place, the right looking movie. It's so bad.
Lions for Lambs.
Yes.
Or Night and Day.
This is why we pay you the big bucks for Lions for Lambs references right there.
Oh my God! Speaking of Night and Day, you know what movie is just reverse Night and Day?
Go on.
Ghosted, that Ana de Armas Chris Evans movie.
Oh, right.
You look at the trailer, you're like, oh, this is reverse Night and Day.
Good math on that.
Swap more Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Start with Valkyrie.
What's a sexy female race car driver?
Heart Like a Wheel in the 80s with Bonnie Bedelia as Shirley Muldowney. Look it up.
Is it good?
I didn't say that.
Will I like it?
I think you'll like the poster.
Okay.